We tend to think of elections as something that happens entirely inside a voting booth. We focus on the act of casting a ballot. But the real power often lies in the invisible boundaries drawn long before anyone shows up to vote. From its earliest days, the United States built its economy by relying heavily on black labor, while simultaneously fearing what would happen if those same people ever acquired a political voice. The passage of the 15th Amendment rewrote the rules. Once it became unconstitutional to deny a citizen the right to vote explicitly based on their race, political exclusion required a new strategy. If those in power could no longer legally stop people from casting a ballot, they had to figure out how to make those ballots functionally meaningless. The strategy shifted from blocking the vote to engineering the outcome. This is achieved through a legal mechanism called vote dilution. Vote dilution happens when electoral boundaries are manipulated to weaken a specific demographic's practical influence, all while maintaining the outward appearance of equal access. The modern struggle for civil rights has moved past the polling place door. Today, the primary objective of systemic suppression is mathematically containing the power of the vote. Progress in American democracy rarely moves in a straight line. Historically, whenever black voters gain significant political ground, state legislatures coordinate a pushback designed to reset the old hierarchy. During the Jim Crow era, states weaponized bureaucratic paperwork to strip away the rights gained after the Civil War. They instituted financial barriers, like poll taxes, requiring people to pay a fee just to exercise their constitutional right. When paperwork failed to contain growing political influence, the response turned physical. Mobs actively destroyed thriving black economic and political centers to eradicate the communities that built them. That violence was eventually met by a massive, organized push for civil rights, leading to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. This legislation finally put federal muscle behind the promise of the 15th Amendment. The cycle continues today. When the Supreme Court gutted key protections of the Voting Rights Act in 2013, they activated the next phase of a very old pattern of rollback. Watch this grid of voters. Operatives use software to draw maps, Gerrymandering 2.0. First, packing concentrates minority voters into one isolated district, neutralizing their influence elsewhere. Then, cracking slices through a dense community, dividing them across multiple districts so they become a minority everywhere. Because these lines are generated by software and filed as administrative procedure, lawyers frequently defend them in court as entirely race-neutral. Proving discrimination is difficult when it is hidden inside an algorithm. Some civil rights scholars describe this stripping of representation as a form of political lynching. They are describing a kind of forced civic death, where a community's voice is legally suffocated. A computer program generating oddly shaped districts achieves the exact same practical result as a mob blocking a polling place. The suppression remains completely intact. It just operates out of sight. There is a counterforce to this suppression. Historians observe a pattern known as the Phoenix Principle. No matter how institutions attempt to erase their influence, black communities consistently adapt, reorganize, and rebuild. Excluded from official power, they built parallel networks, schools, churches, and economic centers, which in turn produced organizers who directly challenged the boundaries of the nation. While fighting for basic representation, Black Americans simultaneously delivered foundational advancements to the country's science, infrastructure, and culture. The citizens facing the most aggressive exclusion from the constitutional promise became the exact people who fought the hardest to ensure it applied to everyone. The truth is, rights do not protect themselves. A legal protection secured by one generation will easily dissolve in the next if citizens stop actively defending it. American democracy remains an active, ongoing argument. The map is always moving, and the fight over who gets to draw the lines of